how to buy real estate with your self-directed 401k. Most people have no idea that you can actually invest in real estate and do deals with your 401k without any penalty at all. This is one of my favorite ways to help my students find money for their deals because you don't need any outside money, or if you do, you can do a hard money loan plus some of your 401k money. It doesn't come from your bank account and it can really supercharge your retirement accounts, but there's a few things you gotta be aware of. First off, what is a self-directed IRA or 401k? What is that? It basically means that you are going to a custodian that will allow you to decide the investments you can go in. With a standard retirement account, there's a list of things and you have to choose which ones you're actually interested in, and then you can invest in those. But that doesn't allow you to invest in gold or silver or oil or property or anything else like that. And so there's this really cool thing called self-directed. Self-directed means you get to decide what happens with your retirement money, which is the way I like it, okay? So I've been doing self-directed now for probably 15 years. So there are some things to know about this. Now, number one, most employers don't offer self-directed. That kind of stinks because they should be. So if you're with a small employer, you could say, hey, let's do a self-directed, which will allow me to do other things, and everybody else can still do any stock trading or anything else they want to do. There's a little bit more administration cost, but it's not significant enough. So it's something you could go talk to your employer about. But if you have money that is coming from somewhere else, from previous employers or anything else like that, you can roll that into a self-directed and start directing that money where you want it to go. Likewise, if you want to make some contributions to an IRA or anything else like that, you could do that directly into a self-directed. You just got to find a right custodian that can take care of that for you. Now, what does this allow you to do? Well, there's two different types of retirement accounts. There's the Roth and there's the traditional. The traditional basically means when you put money in, you get a tax write-off for the money you put in. The money then is able to grow tax-free, but when you pull the money out, as you pull the money out, you will be taxed on the money you actually pull out. Now, that is not my favorite. My favorite is the Roth. With the Roth, I pay taxes when I put the money in, but the growth has no tax, and when I pull the money out, I don't have to pay any tax. So it's kind of like pay the piper now or pay the piper later. You're gonna end up paying them at some point, and I would rather pay it now on a smaller amount because I want the growth to happen, and I don't wanna have to pay taxes on the growth or when I take out the money from the growth, which is why I primarily work with doing Roth accounts. That's my preference. Now, sometimes it makes sense to do a traditional, sometimes it makes sense to do a Roth. It's really a personal decision, but you've got to decide that. And maybe it's a balance. Maybe you do half and half or 2/3. It just depends on what you're looking. Let's talk about why there's some benefits of using your self-directed for real estate. But before I do that, we probably need to get into a few things. Now, first off, I am not an attorney. I am not an accountant, and I'm not a specialist in this. I've done it for a long time, and I'm just sharing my experience with you guys. That's really what I want to do. But there's this little thing called self-dealing, okay? So you can't be doing deals with your family members. You can't be doing deals with your spouse. You can't be loaning money to those types of people. So it has to be what's called arm's length. There can't be any type of connection in the deals that you're doing, and you can't personally benefit from that transaction as well. So let me give you an example on this, right? You can't be getting, if you're a real estate agent, you couldn't get a commission on a property that your self-directed was actually buying because you'd personally be getting a benefit from that, okay? So what's gonna be happening here is you actually would go to the seller and say, can we just reduce the price and not have a commission, because then you're not financially benefiting and your self-directed is the one that's taking all the benefit on that. So there are some rules around that you need to be aware of. I'm not an expert in those. I just know from my experience, and your custodian you're gonna be working with can help give you some more guidance. Now, you've got to be very careful because most custodians do not like self-directed because there is more moving parts and there is more administration. So most people are going to say, don't do a self-directed. I would tell you that's a big mistake. I think you should only be doing self-directed. And if you can't with your current employer, you can use it from a previous employer and roll it over or do other contributions, okay? So now, why is this such a benefit in doing real estate? The idea is you can buy the real estate and you can hold the real estate and all of the money goes back into your retirement account. Now, regardless if it's a Roth or a traditional, that money is going in tax-free, so you're not paying taxes on that money, but all the money has to go back into your account, which means you can't spend any of that money, which is actually a pretty good idea if you're trying to grow wealth. It basically gives you a tax-free way to grow it, and you can't go spend it or there's a penalty, so it can work out really well. Also, one of the things you can do is you can use that money in conjunction with hard money to actually acquire properties and have the profits go back into your self-directed, which works out extremely well. So basically every benefit is going back to your self-directed, which is gonna be tax-free on the growth and taxed if you take it out of a traditional when you are 65 and a half, I think it is. Maybe it's different, but somewhere in there, right? Okay, and then what's gonna happen is you can also do the traditional, which means you'll pay taxes when you take the money out. Now, I'll tell you, this is like a snowball going down the hill. When we first started this, my wife thought I was crazy and said, why are we doing this? But I can tell you now the snowball's gotten pretty big and it's rolling down the hill pretty rapidly. I would say your first deals are some of the hardest to do because you've got to get enough money in there where you can actually do some of the deals and have some benefit. That's one of the difficulties is getting it started, but keep at it and keep working at it. And before you know it, there'll be enough money where you can actually do something significant. And that's when it gets exciting. It's just like real estate investing as a whole. The first ones are the hardest to do. The more you do, the more experience you have, the more opportunities you see, the more ability you have. So I really recommend that you look into this, look into the self-directed, see how this can work for you and start growing your financial net worth in a tax-free environment. I've put together a video why hard money is the backbone of fix and flip, and this will also go over how you can use 401k plus hard money to actually do a deal. It goes through why hard money comes before a property, why every deal should start with finding a great hard money lender, and what you should be looking for. Check out this video. I know you'll love it, and make it a very profitable day.